Well, it's a blast of chemicals in your brain that says, wait a minute, I got to see what I just got notified about. I got to do it. And it makes you look to your phone and pick it up and do it. It makes you multitask. We live in a world where there's lots of cognitive tasks. And God love us, we have taken this thing, this phone, and we have allowed it to interrupt us at will. We've allowed it to ding when we have a text message. We've allowed it to make all sorts of sounds, to vibrate, to do this, and to notify us. And that's making us multitask. Say I'm talking to you, and I'm not multitasking now. I'm just listening to you, and I'm talking to you. All of a sudden, my phone beeps. What happens to me? Physiologically, what happens is if you do a skin conductance test, your galvanic skin response, the sweat in your hands, in your fingers, and your pits, whatever, registers. And what happens is you'll be doing this task, and you go along, and all of a sudden your phone beeps, and you go like this. You'll spike, what's called a GSR spike, which means that you're aroused. What is that arousal? Well, it's a blast of chemicals in your brain that says, wait a minute, I got to see what I just got notified about. I got to do it. And it makes you look to your phone and pick it up and do it. It makes you multitask. And we allow it to. I mean, some of the research that we've done with young kids, teenagers, and sort of Gen Z, I guess they call them, they get upwards of 100 notifications a day from their phone. Upwards of 100. And they're spending 7+ hours per day on their phone.
So I got sick of it I think it's about 3 years now. 3 years ago, I was just so sick of the pickups, and I had this app that came out that talked about screen time that showed you your pickups per day. And so I said, I'm going to run an experiment, because I'd already been doing the show for a couple years at this point. And I'd gotten comfortable with this idea of having to put it into Do Not Disturb when I do the show. So I said I was going to run an experiment. I said I'm going to take 2 weeks, and I'm going to turn off all notifications from my phone, just disable them all. And I'm going to see if I like it better or not. Very unscientific, very simply subjective. Hey, do I like this better or not? They haven't come back on. Two of them have. My wife can break through anything. So her phone and my calendar, my notifications of when I have my next meeting. And that's it. So I've got calendar, and I want to be interrupted on those two things. Everything else is just gone. And sometimes I look at my phone and I've missed 30 calls over the past 4 days or something like that. And I'm like, if it's really important, it gets to me, right? Because I'm still on email, and I'm still on, Slack, and all of these other forms of communication. And everyone knows that if they really need to get to me, they can just call my wife. And if you don't know my wife, then you don't really need to get to me.
Well, interestingly enough, what you did was get rid of all the external notifications. What you didn't do is get rid of the internal notifications, because you can't. So correct. What Gloria has found, and what we always found in our research, is that about half of your interruptions are external and half are internal. We don't see what's going on that makes this internal thing ping at us, but we know from the research that it's due to some sort of anxiety. Mm-hmm. And that anxiety could be very little, it could be very big, but it pushes you, like I said, it pushes you to grab your phone. So for example, if you're an avid text messenger and you have not checked your texts and you've turned off your notifications, and you haven't checked your texts in a period of time, your brain is going to tell you, you better check that, or I'm going to make your body really nervous and really anxious. I'm going to spew out cortisol at a rapid pace so that your body gets really anxious and really nervous. And the more anxious and nervous you get, the more you need to distract yourself.
Okay, so I want to talk about that. Fully agree. And my pickups, they went down probably about 50%, right? They didn't go down completely. They're still absurdly high, 80 pickups a day or whatever it may be. It's a lot.
I mean, it's a lot.
And so I started watching myself. I like to look at myself like a monkey. I'm like, what's this monkey doing, right? And I tried different things to get control of this autonomous, uncontrollable physiological situation. Now, the only thing that I have done to be successful is I look at it like a drug, okay? I used to be very overweight. So for me, it's like chocolate, right? So I look at it like that. And here's the thing. If I have a little bit of chocolate, I'm going on the bin. I'm off. I'm in Chocolate City, right? So if I stay away from it completely, I'm good, right? And so I took that and applied it to this, and I said, okay, how can I control myself with this? Many experiments tried, failed, didn't do it. Only, during these times, different ways. Now, I'm getting into the details a little bit there, but I'll back up and say the only way I've had success with it is in the morning, I don't touch my phone until everything that I want to do is done. And that's usually around 9:30 in my local time zone. And I don't have one meeting scheduled prior to 9:30. So I know every single day of the week that there is nothing on my calendar to 9:30. And that's when I deal with my faith, my fitness, my mindset, my wife, my kids, my breakfast. Those things are happening. The things that are really important to me, whether I have a lot or I have a little, they're getting done before I enter distraction city, which lasts until I put my phone down for bed at night. So I get distracted 9:30 to 8:30 at night or 9 o'clock. So I'm getting it for 12 hours a day, man. I'm not sitting here saying that I've completely solved this, but I have this beautiful window from like 5:30 a.m. to 9:30. That's like before technology existed, and I love it.
Let me tell you a little study that was done that kind of corroborates what you're saying. So this researcher went and found, 60, 70 families that had a mom and dad and a teenager. And before they started, they did all sorts of surveys that showed how much they used each different kind of technology. So how much they use social media, how much they use email, how much they use messaging, whatever, everything. Then what they did is they had them swab themselves, meaning they take a swab, put it in a little container, put it in the refrigerator, mark down what time it was. And they do that right as they woke up. They do it 30 minutes later. And then I don't remember how much during the day because that was unimportant to me. What they found was they first looked at is there any relationship between your cortisol levels, because that's what they were measuring, between the time you wake up and 30 minutes later. Okay, so you got the scenario. Mm-hmm. So for moms, no amount of technology related to their ups or downs of cortisol between waking and 30 minutes. By the way, when we awaken, cortisol starts. It's the thing that gets us going in the morning. And so there's stuff there. There's cortisol there anyway. When they looked at dads, the only type of technology use that correlated with the cortisol was email. So those dads who did more email showed a bigger change between awakening and 30 minutes later. Now, when they looked at the teenagers, only one correlated with an increase in cortisol. Take a guess.
I have no idea.
Social media. Those teens who use more social media showed more of an increase in cortisol between awakening and 30 minutes later.
Yeah.
That's frightening. I mean, that goes along with what you just said about what you do for yourself. What you're doing is you're avoiding having that happen to you.
Yes.
Teenagers can't do that. They can't avoid it.